Alright, so the trend lately is that more and more brands have been moving away from using natural leather on their football boots, smooth, these guys included. But thankfully, there's still a bunch of them out there that are, frankly, very, very good. So if you're like me and you just love the comfort and the touch that only a leather boot can offer, well, here's my top 5 list of the best leather boots you can buy on unisportstore.com in the summer of 2025. And of course, if you just want to buy the boots, you can do so in the link right up there or in the description. Also, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel with the notifications on. And with that, let's move to the studio. And we can start out with the Copa Pure III Elite, which might be the best boot I've ever had in 5th place on one of these lists. It's a very underappreciated football boot in my book, because what you get here is just such an easy plug-and-play leather experience here. You've got this really soft fusion skin upper with a calf leather forefoot that's impressively soft out of the box, but then as you break it in, it just becomes pure butter and molds so easily around your foot. So very comfortable, and the touch is pretty nice too. You've got a sleek midfoot here, cool, and the heel is absolutely lovely. It's a really nice take on a modern heritage boot, and to me is probably the best boot so far to really fill out the void left behind by the leather Champo Legends. So really cool, but to me it probably could have done with a little bit better lockdown in the midfoot and lock-in in the heel, and while it is really good and just super enjoyable, it might also be a little bit unspectacular. But on the other hand, isn't that what you want from your leather boot? It's good. It's very good. And then we stay in Germany for 4th place, where I'll be honest, I've kind of cheated a little bit, but it's my list, so
I make the rules, okay? We cool with that?
cool. Anyways, what I've got for you here is the Adidas Copa Icon 2 and the remake of the F50 Adizero leather from 2010. And that might seem a little bit weird, especially since to me, this is the better football boot. But the reason I brought them both is that they do many of the same things and they do them relatively right. So what you've got here is a pretty soft calf leather forefoot on both of them. You have a synthetic leather midfoot and a relatively minimalistic heel. They're both relatively lightweight, they feel pretty sleek and nice and, you know, elegant on the ball. Now, what I like best about the Copa Icon 2 is the whole lacing system, how you can adjust a lot. The fit is very good, the lockdown is solid, the heel is far superior to that in the Adizero, it's much more comfortable. And I do like that the leather is a little bit more plush and soft and elegant on the ball. Plus, you can use it on both FG and AG. But the reason I brought the Adizero leather remake here is that I like how the leather area is bigger. The leather also feels maybe a little thinner and a little bit softer compared to the Copa Icon 2, at least before you break them in. And also, if you're into a slightly more responsive, speedy sensation, this outsole is just better. And also, if you have wide feet, this is perhaps a little bit more accommodating than the Copa Icon 2 is. But again, you know, at 180 euros, as an alternative to the Mizuno Morelia Neos, this is absolutely fantastic. And it's more or less always in my match day rotation. So you shouldn't be too worried about both of them being calf leather, because once you break them in, you're not gonna care, because they are so soft and comfortable and slipper-like, and it's just, so yeah, no brainers. But then we take a step up on the price range, at least from the Copa Icon 2, with the Adidas Predator Elite FT Obsidian Strike, which is just, yeah, exactly. It's just, this fusion skin upper is absolutely ridiculous. It is seriously soft out of the box. And then when you break them in, I worn these twice, and it's so soft and so slipper-like that it's a wild thing to experience for your feet. It's almost as if this was your personal butler. They came over to you and asked, "Sir, do you want a bathrobe and a foot rub?" We're talking about that level of comfort. And when you combine that with the SL rubber strike skin fins here that just add this little extra something on the ball, gives you that extra bit of confidence, it is a wild combination. It is also perhaps a little bit roomier and slightly more cozy and accommodating than the two Copa boots especially, but that just also adds to this really easy ride. And the only thing I really wanted to change was the heel, that to me doesn't really lock that closely around my foot. It would definitely be better if they'd used the Copa Pure III heel. That could also still be better, but that would be a little thing personally for me. But I mean, from here on and forward, it feels like an absolute dream to wear. And to me, the best calf leather boot that Adidas make. But allow me to then introduce second place, the Mizuno Morelia Neo 4 Beta Japan. And or its brothers and sisters that are very similar could be the Morelia Neo with the Alpha outsole on from the Innovation Pack. It could be the Elite version of the Morelia Neo 4 Beta, which is very similar but only 210 euros. But it could also be the non-Beta Japan version or the Morelia Neo 3 Elite that we are unfortunately not blessed with the opportunity to buy in Europe. But that's kind of okay, because if you just look at this, it cannot be overstated how ridiculous a Mizuno leather boot is. The quality just cannot be denied. So what you get here is this, I know the other boots are soft, but this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And what Mizuno have done here with the way they cut the patterns and how they stitch it, they ensure that it's so soft and so pliable. It has enough stretch to mold so effortlessly, but it doesn't overstretch. And it's just one of those experiences that if you love leather boots, you owe it to your feet to try a Mizuno Japan leather boot. That's just the way it is. What you have here is a thinner variation of the Morelia upper, so it's nice and sleek, still really comfortable, still has a nice touch on the ball. Then you have a really nice sleek textile midfoot, a pretty good lock-in in the heel, and a relatively lightweight and snappy outsole. And it just gives you that, modern, really sleek, kind of speedy vibe, but with the comfort and the fit that only a K-leather forefoot can provide. And yes, the Japan version is eye-wateringly, ridiculously expensive. It is, for good reason, called, at least to me, the Rolls-Royce of speed boots. But if that's too much for you, you can also go and buy the Elites that are very similar, same K-leather forefoot, and still just a cut above the rest. Phenomenal, these. And they're building that. You have to. But before we move on to number one, a shout out also has to be given to a couple of these honorable mentions. The first, of course, being the Copa Mundial, the granddaddy of leather boots, which when broken in still goes very, very soft on you. And is, to be fair, it could do with a lot of work, to be fair, but that upper is still the business. Of course, there is also the Mizuno Morelia Proto, which it might be one of the best leather uppers I've ever tried. And the only reason it's just an honorable mention is that it's very much an AG only boot and it's not fantastic on natural glass surfaces. So I couldn't put it up there. But otherwise, if you only play on AG, you gotta try it, because it's wild. Obviously, also, if we go a little lower on the budget, you have the Nike Premier 3 and the Adidas Copa Glory 2, which in that 110 euro price range is actually really, really solid leather options. So just keep that in mind as well. But now that we're on the topic of Godfather boots, you have, in my opinion, the best leather boot experience in 2025 with the Mizuno Morelia II Japan. And I'll also say that personally, I'd probably be leaning a little bit more towards the Morelia Neo. It just speaks a bit more to my preferences. But in terms of that pure leather boot experience, we're talking about the pinnacle right here. The funny thing about the Morelia 2 is that it might be 40 years old, but unlike what Adidas have done with the Copa Mundial and just keep it classic, Mizuno have actually kept updating this just over the years to make it sure that it just fits the standards and demands of the modern game. So yes, it has the classic DNA, which is the leather and the fit, but it also just, it doesn't feel modern, but it definitely doesn't feel as old school as on the Copa Mundial. And the leather, the leather's a story in itself. It's not just soft, it's not just pliable. It's just on a level where it's an experience. And you just really need to actually try it to understand what I'm about. But also, of course, the shape of the boot, the last the Mizuno use, it feels so natural, so accommodating and yet so snug that it kind of feels a little bit custom. And it's like your feet are coming home when you step into these. And yes, I realize that these are, just like the Morelia Neos, eye-wateringly expensive, and there will be skeptics. But every person I've met that have said, oh, it's 40 years old, that have tried the boots have gone from to, oh, I get it now. I understand it when they've tried them on. And I think that maturing is realizing just how good and how perfect of a package this is. So if you're into leather boots, you just you kind of have to try either these or the new ultralights or the Wagyu version from the innovation pack, and of course the Morelia DNA, which is absolutely fantastic with the Morelia Neo sole on, because it just gives you the quality, the comfort, the fit, the touch. It's just on that different level. So to me, this is the complete package. But Jay, if you look at it, it's only Adidas and Mizuno on your list. What's up with that? Well, when you think about it, with Nike and Puma and New Balance leaving the leather game behind, Sakito aren't doing it, Skechers aren't doing it, and I think that, Pantofolo Doro, Lotto, Diadora, they make leather boots, but I just think they have some performance issues. So to me, Adidas and Mizuno are actually the best brands at making leather boots right now, at least the big mainstream brands. But I'd actually also really love to hear what you think is the best leather boot out there right now. Well, you should tell me in the comment section right down below. And then just remember that this is my list. Finding the best leather boot for you is about what you want. Do you want that plush comfort? Do you want that slightly more slim, sleek, lightweight sensation? And also, of course, it's about your foot shape. So are you looking at a Morelia Neo or a classic Morelia or wider pret? That's all up to you. Because at the end of the day, it's about finding the boot that fits your foot the best. Because if it fits you well, you're gonna feel better, and most likely you will have that mental edge that you will play better. So remember that, and with that I'm off, signing off, cheerio.